InShalla and Ashe. Don't mind the bubbling noise in the background. Let's see, who am I got here? I'm going to go with this one. Blessings to you, my energetic beings. I had a crazy morning myself. My little boyfriend, my fairy god dog, had been having some issues. But we are in the season of Aries, who we are, aren't we? So we have this magical opportunity to recalibrate our being, the I am, the base, our root center, our manifesting, cleansing the auric field, the matrix of our first dimension. Kind of a thing, you know, our foundation can be out in the field, circling back to our inner field, coming soon on my horizon. The rising of the origin. It's going to be an opportunity that I'm going to be offering in the very near future. A 5-day back-to-back immersion, a complimentary gift on my day-to-day. But welcome to today's daily snippet. Once again, I am your host. I am a practicing holistic Sha'medium, a subtle energetic surgeon, merging both of these technologies along with the indigenous, the elements, the elemental beings, the subtle frequencies, just from the elemental realm into the imaginal realm, with offerings, rituals, and prescriptions to really juice us up in our container, bringing us back to our authenticity, our soul's prime directive. But my intention really is to merge these indigenous technologies with the subtle realm. The etheric highway is kind of my playground, but really to assist you into navigating your inner genius, your prime directive, just knowing that you do have a magical, unique being that resides within you. But my name is Tonya D, and welcome to my virtual medicine room, my online playground. And if you haven't already, please be kind and do subscribe to my YouTube channel, Tonya D. And if you also don't mind, hit the bell button so you're notified. And liking the videos, commenting, all of that just really echoes out and suggests me with other like-minded users on that algorithm in the galactic universe, along with other social channels like Instagram, and I'm on TikTok, and my Musing with Tonya D podcast. So with all of that, I can say that I truly do believe in miracles. I can really say that from my heart space, the miraculous, the things in the unseen that have the ability to manifest from energy to matter into the physical. So how do we do this? It really is not the how, it's kind of more of the why. It's in the allowing of the universe to hold the space and pour the juice in. And then you get to ask the how, or more importantly, how does that feel in the how? So the body is our home to create our container, our personal webbing. So with being in the season, the angelic being that's online to assist us, Ariel, the nature shape-shifting jewel. I dreamt about mermaids myself, how they can shape-shift. But this is where we are recalibrating our I am spiritual truths. What is in our field, the collective field, and our own. So with this energy of today, Aries is the hero. It's like Sir Lancelot, the warrior that's in alignment with the truths, a shape-shifting Merlin, if you will. So today, I am actually going to go with the Fae, the realm of the other, because we are kind of in that in-between realm. So let me get that going. And don't mind the noise. I'm getting my roof done, so things are moving along. But we have Laiste. I love that name. It's like Bastille, but Laiste. This is the moon's daughter, number 38. So this is like what we believe in our heart and what we are in control of or in authority of. Or what is the inner authority of our belief chamber. So it's like curious between beliefs and authority. And when we are aligned with that, we are in integrity. So it's like our inner and our outer love of ourself, the chalice. Our heart knows. So this is like the frequency in our auric field. And you can kind of feel the sauce, if you will. But Laiste, she's part of the fairy guides and the guardians. These are the ones that devote their time and their energy directly to guiding us as we develop our own unique gifts and talents, our own innate natural magic. They really assist us to become more of who we already are. So that's why I love the Fae, right? They explore our potentials. They transcend our self-imposed limitations, even our fears, because I know there's magic on the other side of fear. But they even assist us to climb out of the holes that we actually kind of get ourselves into, sometimes through a misconception or not even understanding our attention or our talents and our potentials. Sorry, felt the need to move the chair. But they also assist us to develop the joys of living. And also in doing so, I don't know if you can hear Diddy in the background, when they do that, they really assist us to live more harmoniously with nature along with each other. And nature herself isn't just, it's animals, it's the elementals, it's plants, it's trees, it's waters, it's all of the things, crickets, and also just living with all these other beings. But the moon's daughter, she is the light that's cast. She's casting out the shadows where we can get this spiritual guidance or have spiritual guidance illuminated or riddles. She's the bringer of the light in the darkness. So even though the moonlight both reveals and also conceals, she's got these bright fairy hooves. I don't know if you can see them, but they light the path ahead of us, like guiding us through the dark. But she is also one of the guides at the passengers between this world and the other one. She's like opens that gate. It's she who, with her bright light, tends the gate of revelation, just showing us the way through it by illuminating. So her gate is just so much more fun than her sisters. But in the process of guiding us, she may pull a veil of cloud across the face of her mother, who is the moon, right? Because this is the moon's daughter. And then 3 steps later, we fall in a mud bog, right? So she's trying to wake us up. She disapproves of sleepwalking through life, which is something that a lot of us do a great deal or a lot of time, right? So the night contains so much magic, beauty, and wisdom to walk through it unseeingly. So you might find her activities helpful, and you might find them even a little more frustrating. But how you take them is totally entirely up to you. They're really intended to assist us to waken up. But also bear in mind that she doesn't trip us. She literally just puts an obstacle or a pitfall in our path to awaken us. And we, on our own, because we're sleepwalking, we're unaware, we step right into it. So we don't have to do that. You know, as always, it's free will. It's a choice. So she wants us to be open to the great unknown, the mystical, not necessarily the magical, but those experiences that really teach us to expand in ways that are galactic, multiverse, juicy, and all of the worlds and the dimensions all together. It's like kneading the soil. That's kind of how I see it. But she is the daughter of the moon. So she's also this illumination of the child of unity, where the frog queen wishes that we could get in touch with our subconscious and find that treasure there. The moon's daughter, she hopes that we will reach out for our higher self. I was thinking of our Sira, our not yet realized kind of cosmic otherworldly wisdom, because we know far more than we know. So she, in this place, there are places within ourselves that we may have feared because they are shadowed, they are unknown. So we may imagine them full of monsters, if you will, when in fact they are just inhabited by these joyful otherworldly beings. So she really wishes us to explore the earth, and because there's so much more potential. There's this unexplored wisdom that really is lying in these darkened spaces. So she's reaching into our deepest mind, our acumen there, and opening these doors that we've kept shut for so long. She's illuminating them. She's revealing these uncultivated aspects that have been ground into our innate being, our hidden talents and our senses. So she speaks to us, which I love, in symbols, the language of symbols. And most often that's how the otherworldly beings often speak, the language of emojis, if you will, because words are really limited. So any one symbol may speak to us on a variety of levels of consciousness about many different aspects of being if we spend time contemplating them. So she's a sphinx. She's finding the answers to these profound riddles. That's our goal, that she's giving us to access the multiverse. So if you're attending to your dreams and your visions and just studying everyday occurrences, you know, most things happen in threes, just trying to discover the deeper levels of meanings and the symbols there, the symbology, then you're learning the language of the moon's daughter, Laiste, which is galactic super juicy. So it's a language by artists and poets. You know, I think about being in Italy or in Europe, basically, and they have all the imagery of pictures, right? Whether it's in a rug, on the wall, there's special names, but in my brain, I can't think right now. All those kinds of things. But these are like informed symbolism. They're works of art, really, just discovering through the study and looking within ourselves through the different interactions with the Fae. It not only teaches us the language of them through the art and the high poetry, but it also gives us keys to our own psychic abilities to access them, to these deeper levels of our own psyches, where the singers, which I talk about and I love as well, they are this creative force of unity. They're more easily found through revelation. So this is like this ecstatic experience of the mystic, if you will. But Laiste, she faces and she leads us into the future with that light. She's like the Merlin, I would say. She prefers to let the old stuff of the past really just fade away, and the illumination of the insight and the newly accessed wisdom that comes to us flow in. So you may, with this card, be finding random events or ideas just fall into a pattern today, beginning to make sense to you. Things may be flowing more easily than you're accustomed to. Sometimes we become so familiar that the unfamiliar kind of freaks us out. Or our decisions and choices may be bringing an unusually high degree of success. Choo choo. Things like our psychic abilities, our hunches, our foreknowings, our intuition, they might be coming clear, making more sense. So just trusting the process. But she also brings the psychic dreams, the opening the door to the future, illuminating the present. So these dreams often speak in symbols, and that's really how the Fae often speak in a symbology, otherworldly. This is like our soul's harmonic is online, which is super juicy. And then we have the Maiden, which is also awesome. She's part of the She, the clan of the She. These are the people of the hills, the lords and the ladies in the realm. They're the old ones. They're the ones that dance, and they dance to mediate the energies, the powerful energies of the singers, to bring them into manifestation throughout all of the worlds. So they do this for the joy of it. So if you could see multi-streamings, conscious river streams, that's the dances that they bring in through laughter, creativity, fun. So these are the ones who create, they nurture, and they build different galaxies or worlds within a tree, within the waters, just those different gateways. But they're available to each and every one of us. They are these guardians of the galaxy, they're comforters, and they seem to just really enjoy creating miracles, the frequent ones as well. But the She, they've often been called the gods, the goddesses, but that's really not how they see themselves, actually. But they're like the elder race, the forerunners, if you will, the ancient ones. I would kind of associate them with the watchers. But each of them, they have their own potent magic power, and they act on this through all of life. They're profoundly wise. Their actions are for the highest good of all involved. But the Maiden, you can see she's card number 14. So it's like, what does our heart belong acting on, since we're in the season of Aries? Or where do I belong in my heart space, and being mindful of that? But this is, it represents auspicious beginnings, it's birth, it's growth, it's joy, it's hope. So very Aryan energy, very springy, very austere, right? So from her crown of light, you can see her star jewel toes. She is like this maiden, this energy of pure joy, the essence of the pureness of joy. She is the face of force. She generates growth through all of the worlds. When she smiles, trouble simply melts away. When she dances, flowers spring from the ground and burst into bloom. So it really is from her frequency, her energy, that the pixies learn to dance, and they keep the worlds turning. Probably our world too, so there's not the stagnant energy. But she's freshly born new every morning. She sings the song of growth for all beings in all the worlds. She sees the magic, the delight in everything, the joy. She takes that endless delight in it, the celebration. So even though this little maiden is so wonderful, she's powerful, she's a child. So she also needs to be cared for. She needs to be nurtured, cherished, like a baby. So when she takes the form of a flower, it's as if somebody needs to make sure that she gets enough water, enough sunlight. So wherever we look after something new or young, or for me, my little fairy dog, we are caring for the maiden, whether it's in the form of a blossom, a new tree, a baby, a new idea. So she then in turn is likely to switch between being grateful or joyful, just receiving that nurturing, and insisting on independence. That really isn't ready. She's not really ready for that. But she knows deep within herself what she needs to do and become, which is the 4. She moves towards this and with a directness of a child, if you've ever watched them. So the maiden is also simplicity. It's the curiosity of children, seeing the unclouded eyes, seeing what's beyond the clouds. She's got this openness to life and love and things and just all the new experiences. So every moment is an adventure with her. She's filled with this hope and innocence and playfulness. So she's awakening to and learning about the world, if you've ever watched children. So a lot of her preferred learning comes with the laughter, which is the Fae world anyway, the silly jokes and just trusting what life is giving to us. So every time we allow ourselves to be filled with joy, we become more like this little maiden. And being that she is otherworldly, right? We might just find her virtues turned into those flaws. We might see where our energy is blocked, where we're not allowing ourselves to dream or to hope or to even plan a juicy future. So we see everything as minimal and mundane, and we live in this cold, sterile, joyless life. But when we twist our energy, we become impulsive, we're thoughtless, we're gullible, we're lost in our dreams that will never translate into reality. So there's kind of a tendency to live in a fantasy, and we're denying reality. So this is definitely a lack of grounding, which I found curious because we're in the season of Aries. It's our root center, so we need to ground. So life will feel like it's floating up in a soap bubble, which is dangerous in a way, right? But that's where she is. She's floating in the fantasy. So when we live in a dream world and it starts to become a habit, the addiction to the fantasy, it's really hard to break free from that. So it can't be changed from the outside by others or even from the inside. So there's usually no desire to break on through into the other side. We're stuck in this unhappy reality, or the reality of what we think is unhappy. So it's two sides of the same coin, until the fantasy world itself becomes just too painful to live in any longer. So when the maiden's energy is seriously reversed, the message can indicate like this crippling pessimism and attitude that's possessed. That kind of is seen as like the possessor, like all you see is the worst of everything, and you expect the worst in your day-to-day life, and that's really what comes forward. It's like you open the door to that. So with that kind of an attitude, we create our own misery. We're denying ourselves the possibility of joy, which is our purpose, really, right? So when this powerful energy is like pushed forward towards joy and growth, and it's inverted or twisted in this kind of way, it's still a powerful energy. So usually it requires an equally powerful experience to break free of it, like break on free, right? But there's always help though, outside the fantasy. And we often need to remember that, even while being at the same time realistic about the difficulties of changing in our life, what's happening. So kind of somebody has to be the adult here. So I'm like, where are the Virgos? That's kind of the energy here. Somebody has to step up to the plate and be responsible and do the things to untwist and get things undone. However, our final message comes from the juice of the Faery GodMother. Yay! So look at her. She's all beaming. She's also part of the she, but she is the gifts, the talents, the grace, the helpful lessons. And being that she's card 25, that's being mindful of our feelings, or tuning into our feelings and being mindful of what they are saying, like what's the message. And when we learn to do this, we then become intuitive. Our spirit comes online. We can like have this divine interconnection, if you will. So it's like our crown is online along with our root center. So it's super juicy. These are our sensors. So this is the message when we wake up, possibly having a bad morning, the morning call. I was up early today. So it could be something like maybe your clients are difficult. You've reached a point of stress. when you're dropping and spilling things, nothing's arranged, your day is not in flow. So it's time to take a pause. I talk about it all the time. Really slow down and just take a look at the other world. And so when we see the fairy godmother, we can see there's a smile probably beaming across our face. She kind of emanates that. So you might see your smile growing bigger and bigger and bigger. So me just seeing her in my third eye and on the screen, it's like, woo, lighten me up. So you might feel your entire energy, your essence just changing. So it's like we have really climbed into our skin. But her name is Sari, which I love. Not sorry, but Sari. So this is how the fairy godmother works in our blessings. She gives us grace, gratitude, grace to help us along our way. So it might be really a little touch of the fairy dust to really lift our mood. The starlight, right? So it might be kind of a miracle that we don't see coming. It might be anything in between. So she really protects us from the ill will or the plain stupidity of others or our own mistakes. She untangles the snarls in our psyches and the thread lines. She's undoing those. And she really just gives us the gifts. She puts them upon us, whatever she feels we need. That's the thing. It's what she feels we need, not what we feel we need. So sometimes she gives us choices when we thought we might have nothing to choose. So grace and gratitude is the good fortune that we get from the universe, oftentimes even when we don't deserve it. In fact, deserving or not deserving isn't really the issue, because it's just knowing that we are connected, we are therefore, and we are loved. It really is that simple. It's that connection. But this fairy godmother, Sari, I love that. She's a giver of grace and occasionally, sometimes, useful lessons, the other side of the coin. But she tries not to interfere with our learning processes. She really is going to add that little touch of fairy grace and help us learn sometimes things a little faster. And quite often, she really acts in our lives through the hands and the hearts of the other. So the fairy godmother is the only one to wear that juicy crown, if you can see that, filled with stars and flowers and all the elementals and branches, you know. So she is the webbing of it all. So luckily, each and every one of us has a fairy godmother to provide all the extras that our guardian angels and whatnot, our ancestors, sometimes they're too busy to think about. But fairy godmothers in general, they're well known for their love of celebration, of parties. So don't forget to invite them into your festivities or different occasions, celebrations, because her energy, her frequency is really what glows through us as we perform loving and kindness for others, just developing our own capacity for unconditional love. So she's offering us these last minute rescues for today. But she's turned up in our messages, you know, just knowing that good things may well be happening that we can't see, like my roof. Hopefully the roofer doesn't fall through. But oftentimes those good things, when they come in, we don't think we deserve, or that we do deserve, but we haven't asked for them. So it's always a way that just a gradual way or subtle that it's not perceived. So she teaches us about giving and receiving unconditionally and just helping us to open our hearts to receive the love and accept that. She sometimes showers us with abundance. That's kind of the flow. So really keep an eye out for some unexpected, juicy, good fortune, especially when you thought all you saw was bad luck heading your way. And just remember to say thank you by passing your kindness on to somebody else. Practice a little fairy godmothering within yourself and see how enjoyable that frequency is. So part of the fun of it is to do it and, you know, do it so the person you're receiving it to or gifting it to doesn't know where the gift actually is coming from. So I think we should all be a little fairy godmother in some aspect of our lives as well, don't you? And I think that was a great way to almost end our day on the elemental highway. Hi, Dee Dee, you want to come up here? Come here, Bubba. Oh. The boyfriend. Say hi, dude. Hello. Having a day. But on the elemental highway, now that I got my boyfriend back, we're having a young wood dog of a day. Jia Xu. So at the hour of the horse, we will actually have a fire trine, which is like right now. So fire is going to be held high, loving, or raging out of control. But our day is strong because it's represented by a tree, but it's also born in the peak season of spring, the rabbit, when the element is the strongest. So trees are well nourished at this time. It's considered to be prosperous. The most needed element for our day is actually metal, especially yang metal, because it can trim the excess wood, and yin fire would actually be the second most important element. So in this combination of yang metal, which chops the wood, yin fire can burn it, so then it becomes productive. It's producing something. And the earth, the dog, can also be useful to kind of weaken the dominating energy of wood. There is a lot of wood, but there's also, there's water as well. The water isn't really needed for our day, especially in large quantities, because water is just going to make the element of wood even stronger. But yang wood is like a sturdy tree. So people with this master element, they mimic sturdy trees. They have deep roots. It allows them to stand firm. They're in place. So just like a tree, these people can withstand almost anything, which is also the reason why they can also be really persistent or bullheaded in getting what they want. They're direct talkers, just like the way trees don't fear growing in any direction. So Yangwood people will talk to you in a very direct manner, since they're not disposed of sugarcoating their words, if you will. They're sometimes viewed to be too blunt, maybe thoughtless, even if they didn't mean to insult anyone. So these are the type of people who are always act as the right hand person, because they can be trusted. They're very protective. They're loving to the people they love. They love a lot. Even if they're often, they end up as the runner up. They don't really hold grudges. They're very loyal. But they don't give up easily. So this makes them loyal and trustworthy. So it's like the balance of the two coins. But they're also the type of people who they have visual. They have their vision is highlighted. So they see the grand scheme of things. They can visualize it. They can pinpoint major factors and different issues. But it's also because of this mentality, they tend to get directly to their end goals. They're very goal orientated as well. So getting to the end goal is huge. Sometimes they get there without thinking over the little finer, minute details, which gives them a tendency to be kind of frivolous, especially when making decisions, which is more of a metal energy. So just focusing on the big scheme, the big picture, they're also quick at making decisions when they're called upon to make a decision for the people without additional prompting, if you will, which then creates hasty decisions because they're not considering all the facts at hand that are laid on the table, if you will. So these people make decisions as a reaction sometimes, which can also be dangerous because they don't hesitate about rethinking or correcting any of the decisions that they've made, even if it's obvious. So their roots are very deep. They're held in place. They tend to grow long, strong roots at a place where either they live or they work. So in that, they often, they hesitate to move. So changing a job or a place where they're living can be extremely stressful for them. They might avoid it no matter what. But also they're kind of subjective thinkers. They see things based on beliefs and experiences, totally different. So they find it difficult to be objective about the way they see things. So even though they might be asking the opinion of friends or family, associates even, it's mostly because they want somebody to agree with them rather than asking them for advice. They love to point other people in the right direction. They're direct. So these are all wood frequencies, wood energy frequencies, but yang wood is big. So given their ability to articulate their thoughts easily, people who fall under this day master would really be great at teaching a profession and being a teacher, if you will, or a coach. But most of the time, they cross the line from teaching to criticizing. So this really kind of makes other people see them in a bad light, in the shadows. So they place a lot of importance on their careers because that really kind of defines who they are. But they are willing to stay employed even when they're not paid a lot. so long as the position has this prominent, influential kind of status. So their wealth and their appearance is really their ultimate confident booster. So these people, energetically, they need to feel that they have elevated to a financial status to actually be more confident. Because you can't really bank on having a sharp mind. That's more of a metal frequency. But at the same time, they have this sexual nature about them that prompts them to really dress up, to feel good, and to have great otherworldly self-esteem. So self-esteem really depends on those external factors. And knowing that it's belief and experience, they're not very religious because they would rather stick to what they believe. So they're not only confident when things are going well. However, what's curious is once they suffer from a setback that seems to push them down, they're prone to losing their confidence. So these people, they really don't get angry easily. That's not really their thing because they see it as a way of losing control. So in those instances, when they do become angry, that's because things are spinning out of control. That's the same way where a tree could be standing firm in the middle of a storm. I'm thinking of a hurricane or a tornado, probably. But they could also be prone to be blown in all those directions. And in any case, it's vital, because it's vital energetically, to step out and look at the big picture to keep things in perspective. But being that our day is strong, born in the spring, it's prosperous, it's prosperity, it's prosperous prosperity. I'm just thinking of spring busting through, but that's more yin energy. So what's cool is the tree needs regular trimming. That's why yang metal, yin fire are the most needed elements, especially because our day is so strong. So yang fire and yin water also beneficial for this day master. Yang wood is kind of rather sensitive when it comes to elemental support. So they need a lot of conditions really to function properly. So it's like a tree needs sun to provide warmth. It needs water to provide nutrition. It needs strong earth to provide stability, strong metal to perform regular trimming. So at a workplace, this kind of a day master often feels like, sometimes it often feels like a yang wood person isn't doing too much, but this tree has one very important function, and that's providing oxygen. So their work often goes unnoticed to those who don't look carefully, but once these people are gone, they are very greatly missed. So yang wood has this problem often that they can't be on top for way too long. So what does that look like? So in a company or a certain market or a profession, like the tree, which grows too big, it needs to be cut down to give space for other plants to grow. So, these people it's excellent if they're like assistants, they're the right-hand person. So if you were to look at a list of famous people that have this day master, you'll notice that almost all of them struggle to stay on top of their game. A lot of them have died early. Some of them have struggled with addictions. Some like Andy Murray, who couldn't stay on top regardless of what he did, always overshadowed by 2 or 3 other players. And also, I found it curious, it's going to be interesting to see how Elon Musk is going to cope with the success. If he does become a leader in the electric car industry, that's going to be, because he's got a young, so it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out, or to muse about that. So our day, to get back to our day, it needs sun. It needs like the peak sun. Like right now, our day is probably feeling juicy. It's rooted in the earth. It's a dog of a day. So our dog has those hidden elements too that our day also needs. The hour of the horse, that's the break on free time. So you might find your energy today, your Aries energy, our feelings, our emotions, things. Maybe you feel frustrated, maybe jealous, maybe defeated. Worst case scenario, rage, like the fire, out of control, what we need. So if you woke up to any of these kinds of feelings, really take a breath, take a pause, stop what you are planning on doing, and shift your attention to venting those feelings in a healthy way, validating them. Because our energy, our tree, that yang wood energy, it really does want to be strong, and it wants to be in control. It wants to be on top of things so we can channel these heavy feelings into an action, which is fire. We then feel some relief from that energy, whether it's cardiovascular exercise, just things that channel our emotions. You know, the feelings that come up are the feelings we generally repress for one reason or another. So we really need earth, our emotions, giving them space in our life to evaluate them, to understand them, and more importantly, to heal them. Oftentimes, what we seek is to relieve these feelings, and sometimes we have to relive them and determine what's causing them. So, whatever's kind of bubbling up through your emotional thread lines, they most certainly will take away from our sense of our strength of our tree. So they can undermine our motivation, our willpower, our drive. So when our emotions get caught up into our ego, we become in this trench of encircled chaos, really. So this energy spins and it cycles and it never achieves the potential. So I would say kind of make it a priority today to channel your attention into finding relief and healing, and just always remember that our heart really is the solution to all of this, that connection. And the more loving we are to what we need in our garden is what we need to attend to. I'm thinking of the Maiden, seeing her little juicy smile. But the faster we understand and we heal those threads, those emotions, then we really understand our feelings as they start bubbling up through those streams. So just kind of make yourself useful in all of the aspects and get in touch with your emotional grid. You know, avoid judging people, places, or things outside of ourselves, and respond to those emotional streams. So given how we feel today, it's like, what changes would you like to make towards your space in moving forward? And just practice responding differently to your feelings. Respond like the Maiden would, or our fairy godmother, right? So be kind, don't be judgmental. There's no need to repress them. Just really allow them to spiral out and flow. We're all learning to practice, you know, a different approach to feeling good and gooder for our own growth, for our own journey. But with our root center online for the entire season, I would affirm on the daily where we are rooted, grounded, safe, and secure, like root in your manifestation. Red is online all month long. But today our sacral is also online, so that's our feeling channel. So feel into the threads. I would use colors of oranges, soothing, sensual colors, the sunset, even the sunrise, the sound of Vam in the channeling, the waters, the peace, the flowing rivers, and fire, the heat of fire. You could bring that in for our wood to be prosperous. But I would affirm that I am nurturing my foundation with the moon, Laiste, the Maiden, and also the fairy godmother. So with all of that, thanks for tuning in. I apologize for being late, but my fairy god dog had issues this weekend. So blessings to you, InShalla and Ashe. And as always, I will see you on the other side.